All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Driveway Engineer. I'm JR. This is Daryl. Some of you know, some of you don't. This is a 6-liter LQ4 with a GT45 turbo and a Holley Terminator X Max, a 4L80E. I put the Terminator kit on. I got it used for $500 over the winter, and I've had basically a ton of problems with it, and they're probably of my own doing, which they typically are. This is only the fourth one I've ever touched, but I'm just gonna go ahead and do some upgrades that I've wanted to do anyway, because I already had the stuff here. The first problem I had is that it was locked in second gear, and the 4L80 will default to second gear if it doesn't have power or it's not, something's wrong with it. The frustrating thing for me with the Holley was that, like, in the data log, it was showing 1, 2, 3, 4 converter lockup, and like none of that shit was happening. There's no error codes, or like you're just on your own. So I took, I don't know, 15, 20 laps around the block, wondering why I couldn't feel it shift and whatnot, before I realized it's not shifting. So then I brought it back. I double checked the harness down at the trans. I did just have the pan off, because I thought my fluid, well, I knew my fluid was leaking out, but I thought that's why it was shifting so soft, but it actually wasn't shifting at all. So, I may have screwed up the harness inside. I don't know. That pan's probably going to have to come off. You can test it from the connector at the bulkhead, and I'll probably do that someday. Tomorrow, I'm getting that Dodge out of here, so Daryl can sit up there and kind of be out of my driveway. But I just didn't really like the way that I had the harness laid out in the engine bay, and this truck intake, early truck intake, isn't really working that great for me either. To use the drive-by-wire throttle body that I have to use this adapter. And then I think the regulator's bad. Like, the rails are never pumped up. It's ugly. It's not the best. So I've had that I literally found laying on the ground at the junkyard. I've had that for a while, and I think I'm going to put that on here for now. Ultimately, it's destined for my Firebird, but I'll just get another one. They're pretty common at the junkyards nowadays. So, that brings me to, like, this is the snow bar portion of it. Like, right now with the return style fuel rails I have and everything's copacetic, and I don't have to do anything. To put that on there, I'll have to, there's no return, it's just a feed only. So typically if you're NA, you would use this with like a Corvette regulator or whatever. But being boosted, I have to have a boost reference, so I have to get a new fuel pressure regulator, and the spiral begins. But with a turbo, it's actually worth a fair bit of power. With NA, it's not really worth enough to justify all the other changes you have to make to me. But it'll just clean everything up in here, and I can run them wires how I want to a little better. I'd like to clean that up, make it easier to troubleshoot. Oh, that's the other thing. I ran out of fuel the other day, just around the side of the block, and then it hasn't ran since I started. I put 6 gallons in it. It doesn't want to start anymore. It doesn't have any spark. You know, the typical thing, check your grounds. Well, I had grounds before I ran out of fuel. I'm pretty sure I have them after, but I did check them anyway, and the ones on the back of the heads are secured. But regardless, I'm kind of going to start over-ish with this install. So I'm going to go wash that off, take the rails off, wash it real quick, and pull that off and get some fuel in my truck, and I'll be back. Alright, so I have the Trailblazer SS new body style. It's the dumbest nomenclature ever. But anyway, I got the new one cleaned up. I got the old one off. This is literally the first time this one's been off in 4 years. Healthy amount of rat poop and miscellaneous bolts and pieces of wire down there. You can see how the wiring's kind of a mess where I just tucked it behind, but I didn't actually do anything with it. So I'm going to take the opportunity to clean that up. And I don't think I mentioned it before, but the flex sensor and the fuel filter, I want the down pipe. I don't really like the hater pipe. It's just something I did. But I can't have it mounted on the firewall if I ever want to go to the drag strip anyway. And there's plenty of length to move it over here to the fender well. So that's probably what I'm going to do as well when I clean those wires up. But for right now, I'm going to set my workbench up here, which is also known as my hood. And I'll show you guys the differences and what we kind of have to do, what you'll have to do if you're going from this style to this style also. Alright, so side by side you can see the obvious differences. There's a 90mm throttle body inlet on the newer one. I think this is 76. I don't know. When you're forcing air through it, it doesn't matter. And when you're only making 350 tire, it doesn't fucking matter either. But like this, again, not a reason in and of itself to do it. But from the top here, you can see the plenum on the TBSS is noticeably bigger. And having a larger volume makes a big difference. And that's where the power comes from. Again, on an NA application, this is going to be worth like 10, 15 rear wheel horsepower. Not enough to justify a couple $100 in fuel pressure regulators and rails to run it. On a turbo, you can get 30, 35, maybe 40 horsepower. It starts to add up. The big bummer is that the rails don't fit. So people go in here and cut these and weld fittings onto them and whatever. I'm not going to do that. Mainly because I suspect that regulator is bad as it is, and I was already having problems. When I unhooked that, it was bone dry, so the truck may well have just been out of gas. But also, I just want cool looking rails, so I'm going to do that, and like I said, move everything over to this side if I can. Also, that hose that's on there from my flex sensor is push connect hose, but it didn't push or connect. This stuff's delicious. Thank you, David. So I wound up with hose clamps on there, and I want to replace that too before I have a fire. But for right now, today, map sensor is different because this is actually an early Gen 4. 2010 plus like have the right connection for this, the LS9 style. This doesn't. My I-18 sensor is here, and I'll have to open this up and put it here as well. This is where the evap was. This one doesn't have provisions. It was in a Hydro Boost van. So actually what I'm probably going to do is just take this here, run it back to the firewall and put a manifold and pull all the vacuum I want. It did have something here, so I'll have to cap that. But for right now, today, I'm just going to wipe that down a little bit and plop it on there and leave it alone and put it away for now. But yeah, this project's well underway, and we'll do some upgrades, and I'll show you guys what it looks like, not wrapped up, but with the intake back on there. It'll look cooler. Again, not worth a couple $100 in and of itself, but both of these, the Toyota and Daryl here, I want to fix a lot of the things that I did in the initial build to get them running that I'm not really happy with. So in my opinion, that's the way to go. Like, get shit running, figure out what you like, don't like, then change it, not just decide what everybody says you have to have. So I'll bring you guys right back. So there it is, mounted up. Well, it's not really mounted up, it's just sitting there. I'm still not a believer in this thing. I already had to bend my steam port line. It does look better, I guess. It doesn't look great. I guess the only reason I'm really doing this is to clean everything up back there, and since I'll have the intake off to do that, why not put the better one on? But I don't know. Not a super fan at this moment. We'll see. I mean, I'm going to proceed with it. So it's going to be a while, a few weeks. I got to order fuel rails, that kind of thing. So hopefully it solves, you know, whenever I put it back together, whatever was wrong with it causing it to have no spark is solved when I put it back together. I'm going to do be a little more careful, but I'm still not expecting it to solve my transmission issue. I'm probably going to have to drop the pan there, which is a bummer, but it is what it is. It's always disappointing when you like throw, you know, $30-$40 worth of fluid in something and then it's just pissed out onto the ground, but it is what it is. So next time you guys see this, it'll be tidied up and painted up, and I'll take care of these wires even that upset so many people, and you know, maybe it'll run more reliably. We'll see. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time on The Driveway Engineer.